Hey guys, June here, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I recently finally bit the bullet and upgraded from a simple standard issue HP mouse that I've used basically forever up to a really nice Razer Naga Chromo, which has 19 different programmable buttons, and I'm hoping is going to really increase my versatility in PVM when it comes to using manual keybinds for combat. Since then, a bunch of people have asked me what new actions I bound to my mouse buttons, as well as just general advice on setting up a keyboard layout, either for learning full manual for the first time or for the people who want to expand on the number of actions that they do with keybinds. At this point, I figured it would just be easier for me to make a video walking you guys through my keybinds, so maybe if you're setting up a layout for the first time and you like the way I have mine set up, you can just model yours after it, or if you have something that's totally different and works great for you, I would certainly be interested in seeing those in the comments. Maybe there's some parts of it that I haven't considered, and seeing that would inspire me to make little tweaks here or there that could make things more intuitive for me. So starting off with the keyboard, I usually let my fingers hang out on the home keys S, D, F, and G, and then I have my primary DPS bar keybound ascending from that position. That would be the bar that I switch depending on whether I'm using melee, ranged, or magic, and it's basically just comprised of the damaging abilities for that attack style. Beyond that, there's a bunch of defensive and utility type abilities that I use with all attack styles. I keep these on a separate bar and they're keybound as shown. These are kind of all over the place, but the important thing is that they occupy the space underneath and around where my fingers naturally sit on their home keys, so I can activate any of them without picking up my hand and diverting my attention to my keyboard to do so. The farther right on the keyboard the things are, the less comfortable they are to reach for, and so I try to limit the things to the far right to be the least commonly used. Some abilities, like my Z key, which is Escape, it was intuitive for my thinking to combine Surge and Barge with Escape since they all have relatively similar effects. So Shift along with my Escape key is what yields Surge, and Alt along with the Escape key is what I use for Barge. Combination keybinds like this are a little uncomfortable, at least for me, when I'm trying to do them exclusively using my left hand, which is why two of the buttons on the side of my mouse for the thumb area I have keybound to Shift and Alt to allow me to use these combination abilities more comfortably. They're still not ideal, so I try to limit the number of combination keybinds I use. I have Special Attack as a combination, Transfigure, Tuska's Wrath, and Surge and Barge, I believe. If these types of combinations feel comfortable to you, you can bind Shift, Control, and Alt all onto your different mouse keys, and that combination allows you to basically quadruple the number of different distinct actions that you can do with the same keys that you're already comfortable pressing with your left hand. That's plenty of actions to keybind every action on every slot of every ability bar that you're able to open, and so certainly worthwhile if you feel like you have the dexterity for that. That's everything I have bound on my keyboard, and you may have noticed that this is all abilities, and it's pretty much every ability you could conceivably want to use, except for what I have on the one key, which is the spell Shield Dome, and I pretty much only use that for Telos. The reason for this is I spent so much time learning how to use full manual at lower level bosses where I was only using strictly abilities and there wasn't a lot of gear switching or anything going on, that my left hand got so much experience rotating around a global cooldown that it has an almost inbuilt kind of muscular sensation of time, and trying to do things intermittently between global cooldowns feels very uncomfortable. That was probably the biggest driving factor in getting me to buy this new mouse, and I'm certainly glad I did. I programmed the bottom row to be prayer switches. Things like soul split flicking and prayer switching at places like Phase 4 of Araxor felt very uncomfortable because I would either have to click on those prayers or try to use some F key keybinds that I attempted for a while, but it felt very, very uncomfortable because of that timing around the global cooldown that my left hand was so used to. As of yet, I've only got about an hour's worth of practice into using this new mouse, and already prayer switching is feeling relatively comfortable, and I'm not making mistakes anymore like I was when I was consistently trying to use the F key keybinds for prayer switches. The second row I started using for gear switches, so the top button is usually my tier 90 shield, and then I'll have the offhand, and then usually a planted feet switch or occasionally Ring of Vigor switch or something like that. Obviously, the crazy amount of different switches that we have in RuneScape don't all fit in this row, and so there are several things that I still click from the inventory, but even just having access to, for example, a tier 90 shield switch and your offhand or a staff, for example, really saves a lot of effort and can streamline how effective you are, for example, bomb tanking at Virago or doing Telos. The top row on my thumb grid I have divided into two parts, so to speak. The first two buttons I have on Food and Brew. This is the first time I've ever actually keybound food before. Previously I just clicked it from inventory, but already this is feeling much more comfortable. Having the freedom to continue moving around while you're eating or switching gear or anything like that really adds more to the quality of life in PVM than you'd expect. The last two buttons on my thumb grid I have bound to Shift and Alt for those combination abilities that we were talking about earlier. Finally, there's some cool features on the top of the mouse too. Right under the scroll wheel there's an up and a down button that normally are corresponding to the DPI settings, so you can adjust them on the fly, but I have a comfortable DPI setting that I pretty much never change, so instead I keybound these to debuffs. As for the mouse wheel itself, the click down function to drag the camera around in RuneScape is pretty important, and the scroll up and scroll down for zoom in and zoom out are also important for my gameplay experience, but it also has a left lean and a right lean key trigger. Originally I had a keybind on both of these, but I found I was mistakenly activating the left lean key button when I was clicking down the scroll wheel and dragging for camera purposes, so I eliminated that one and instead I have just Ice Barrage on the right lean. That keybind is basically to manually cast a spell, and it comes in handy to add some extra damage on top of Detonate with an auto attack, which is really important especially at Telos. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I'll be remaking the Magic DPS Basics video sometime in the near future, and it will include a full explanation of how that works. So in closing, I'm already noticing huge improvements in my PVM abilities from this upgrade, and if you're someone who's looking to upgrade your mouse, I definitely would recommend looking at a Razer Naga Chroma. They obviously don't pay me to say anything nice about it, I'm just so pleased with the purchase I definitely don't think you would regret getting one. Hopefully this video gives you some ideas about changing your manual layout and expanding your keybound actions. I know it's kind of a boring topic, but I just got so many questions about it that I figured there was enough demand for a video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I really am looking forward to seeing what other layouts you guys have come up with, so don't forget to post a screenshot or a little explanation down in the comments for me. So thanks again, and see you guys all in the next video.